Let's dive into our workshop. Scot Capener will be joining us virtually today. He is our web and UI UX designer. He graduated from BYU with a degree in graphic design and has experience with both in-house and agency work. His experience includes print, web, branding, motion graphics, and product design. He met his wife playing video games and also enjoys books, films, and food. He loves spending time with his 3 boys and designing things for fun. AJ Rounds will be joining us here in person today. He is a seasoned sales, marketing, PR, and HR professional. He graduated from USU, don't forget it, with Go Aggies, with a bachelor and master's degrees. His skills include recruiting and managing marketing and sales teams to 5x revenues and new markets. AJ's father taught him the value of entrepreneurship, and alongside RevRoad, currently owns 3 other small businesses and a portfolio of real estate. Besides hanging out with his 4 kids, his wife, and his dog, he runs marathons, plays guitars, and drives a limousine, which tops the list of his favorite things to do. So let's welcome AJ and Scot.
Thanks, Sydney. Appreciate that. I'm going to take off the mask. You know, isn't it good to be here in person? I mean, honestly, we're COVID compliant. Everyone's being safe, you know, distancing and masks, but it's good to be here in person, right? Wouldn't you say? Yeah. Yes. So thanks for coming. Appreciate that. Scot, good to see you on the screen. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you. How's it going, everybody?
Good to have you here, Scot. And Scot's going to join us virtually to keep some of his family members that are high risk safe. So we appreciate him doing that via online. So let's get started. Leveling up your website game, okay? Let's first talk about what not to do. And Scot's going to run us through this. This is the part that's interactive, so yell out some of your feedback as you have it. You will have it, and then I will repeat it in the microphone here so Scot can hear as well. Scot, take it away.
Okay. Excuse me. All right, so let's put this first website up here. So pretend that it's your job to order something from this company. Tell me what's wrong with this website. 10 points if you can even figure out what kind of a company it is.
Let's hear it. What's wrong with his website? Too small, okay. The font, probably. The colors are crazy, okay. What else? Clip art graphic, weird spacing. Where's the name? Business in Oregon. That's scary, right? Okay. And Josh can say that because he's from Oregon. What else? Anything else? No contact us, no about us. Okay. We got some good feedback here, Scot.
Yeah, that's great. Can you believe this is for an X-ray supply company? I mean, they sell medical equipment. And like I heard, you know, it's just that it's hard to read. Everything's really small. It's super unclear. Let's go ahead and look at the next one. All right. So how about this one?
What's wrong with this one?
What potential issues do you see here?
.NET. Oh, that's a good one. Okay. No bueno. What else? Coupons from the value pack. Yes. What else? Not in English. Good one. It's a Norwegian site. Very good. Don't know where to look. Okay. Good feedback here, Scot.
Yeah, that's great. This is a real website. I spent some time trying to, you know, click around and figure out what was going on here. And the navigation is just as confusing as this front page. Some of these things are links to actual classified listings. Some of them are links to categories, and it's really unclear, you know, what am I even supposed to look at first on this page? So think about, you know, put yourself in the shoes of the audience, you know, right? If you're a user of this site, how does it make you feel to be forced to, you know, try to navigate the complexity here? And then let's go ahead and look at the next slide and for some, you know, compare and contrast. It's so simple, right? Big visual centerpiece, bold headline, easy navigation, and a clear call to action. The problem is that achieving this level of simplicity on your website, it can be kind of a challenge. It takes a lot of work to be simple. Okay, we can go ahead and move on. Yep.
So by show of hands here, thank you, Scott. Who here is working on refreshing their website, going to build a website either now, in 6 months, 12 months, or has a wish list for their website? Raise your hands. Should be pretty much everyone, right? Because a website's ongoing and fluid, constantly changing. So we're hoping to address and help some of your with some of your questions on how the website process should go as far as building a website. Lots of stuff to think about, tons of strategy that can go into a website. We want to help simplify that today for you and make that an easier process. And RevRoad went through our own website refresh just a few months ago during COVID. And we'll talk about some of the things we did to kind of help that process along and make our website what it is today. So, and just by way of information too, whether you're revitalizing your website or starting from scratch, the process really is the same. So we've come up with 4 steps to revitalize your website or create it. Number 1, you can see, is define your strategy. 2 is create clear, simple messaging. 3 is iterate and test your design. And then 4 is build with the best tools available. So we'll talk about those things today. So number 1, strategy, super important. You'd be surprised to find out that 37% of websites built, and these are 2020 stats, most of them are built for brand awareness and for brand health, not necessarily to build revenue, like the 5% at the bottom, which I thought was really fascinating. A lot of them bring in leads, which is the 26%, but you can see there's a lot of different reasons why to build a website, and you need to decide what the reason is for your website that you're building for your company, okay? So number 1, know your audience when you're looking at strategy. Number 2, identify problems to solve and then solve them on your website, show that solution. Number 3 is do the right amount of research. And then 4, really important, keep it simple, okay? And you've only got 10 seconds before you lose your audience, before they hop on and bounce off. I'm sure we've never seen that, right? People hopping off our website super fast. No, yeah, it happens all the time. So we have to really make an impression really fast with our audience. Seth here would say, what would you say, Seth, about going to your audience? Get out of your head. Go talk to your audience. Find out their problems and if your solution is the right solution for them. So Seth, we appreciate you as the analyst to help remind us to do that. And so then you get into the research phase, right? And we at RevRoad looked at several different sites in our space, sites that have to do with VCs, agencies, accelerators, and we found some things that we wanted to incorporate into our new site. Inspirational language, showing, not telling, strong headlines, simple visuals. So we incorporated these things in our new website as we rolled it out. And then because RevRoad offers venture services rather than financial investment, it's challenging to describe what RevRoad is. So looking at similar firms, we found some commonalities that we wanted to incorporate into ours, and we boiled it down to 3 things that we want our customers or our audience to know when they go on our site. Number 1, tell our portfolio company stories. Number 2, explain our venture services using images and video. Number 3, invite founders to apply to RevRoad, most important, and then attend events like what we're attending today here at RevU. And those are the 3 main goals that our website accomplishes. So what does that mean for you? Well, that means you need to decide what 3 things do you want your website for your business to accomplish, okay? And make them that simple if you can. Here's some of the tools we used to boil our strategy down. For general, we use Google Sheets, Google Docs, just to do some research and annotating the different things we were learning. For peer feedback, we looked at Facebook Messenger, Google Surveys. Take a picture of this slide if you want, just to keep it. And then for inspiration and curation on formatting and things, we looked at Pinterest, Dribbble, and awards, okay? So some tools you can use. There are many others out there, but some tools we used for our own website regeneration. So now let's move into messaging. And this is what your website should be, and this is how you start to outline your content, okay? So first, define your unique value proposition. Super important. I can't tell you how many websites we look at where it's not clear what they do or why they're different and how they're better than their competitors. So that's number 1. Number 2, write for your audience. 3, think about the user buyer journey. And 4, what is the specific call to action you want them to make while they're on your site? So as you look at your unique value proposition, You want to intersect between what the audience wants and what you are exceptionally good at. And hopefully those are the same, hopefully those intersect right there in that sweet spot. And that's what you want to really highlight on your website to make sure that people understand that specific proposition. When you're writing, use bold descriptive headlines, write in small blocks, use visual storytelling, videos if you can, or at least high-res images, and simple language and keywords. And keywords, SEO, search engine optimization, is another topic for another day altogether. But make sure you're using some of the jargon in your industry so you can be found on Google. And then think about the buyer journey. And this will be kind of different for every company, right? So what is your offering? Think of the questions your customers will ask. What is their offering and what is the problem and solution? Then they may ask, is this affordable? Is this a credible company? What do other customers say? Is there a warranty? Is the process for checkout simple? Is it easy to get involved? Think about their journey walking through your website, learning about your company. And then call to action, super critical. How many here have seen a call to action on the left where you can sign up for a demo, or you can sign up for the newsletter, or call them, or get involved in on their social platforms, all in one spot? Super frustrating because you're like, I don't know what I should do, right? So make your call to action very simple. One thing, one page, that's it, okay? And you're funneling everything down to that call to action. And then here's some messaging tools we used as we built out our website. Writing, of course, Google Docs, Grammarly to help us with the grammar and punctuation and spelling. Analytics, Facebook is great. Google Trends is awesome. And then we do a lot of our visuals and video in-house with our amazing video team and our graphic designers. But if you don't have access to that, Adobe Stock, Pond 5, and Unsplash are some good tools for that. So now that we talked a little bit about strategy and messaging for your site, Scott's going to walk us through design and through the actual build-out process. Scott, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, AJ. So after you have your messaging complete, it's time to start thinking about the design of your website. So this is a phase before you even start touching the code or any kind of page building. What you want to do is focus on these three things. Use your messaging to inform the look and feel of your website. Use prototyping tools for rapid iteration, and gather user feedback. You can tell, just looking at these two examples here, the kind of messaging that you come up with during that phase of this process is really going to inform the look and feel of your website. You use your messaging and your brand identity excuse me, to influence how visitors perceive and feel about your brand. It's not a rule, but that's why there's so many tech companies use the color blue, finance companies use green, and fast food uses red and yellow. The fonts and colors and other visuals you apply as part of your brand identity powerfully affect the message you are delivering, and they should match your strategy and messaging. The second thing to keep in mind is that it's really helpful to use design and prototyping software to rapidly iterate on what your website could look like. So this is an example. During our refresh process, we came up with 6 different mock-ups using different images, different headlines, and this took all of an afternoon to put these 6 things together. No coding involved, just putting moving things around in the design software to really get creative and not use up our precious development time. After we had done that, we were able to take those mock-ups out into our RevRoad community, internally and with our existing clients, and being able to ask people about, what's working, what isn't. Gathering that user feedback gives us the ability to make adjustments as necessary to make sure that we're really achieving a good fit with what people are looking for and what we're delivering on our website experience.
And Scott, this is kind of the fun part, right? Because you get to hear all the opinions and all the different thoughts around the different iterations that you come up with, right?
That's right. And it's important to keep in mind that it's not really an art show, right? It's not saying, hey, look at all these great designs and tell us what you like. You're looking for honest and even brutal feedback about, what is really going to have an impact and resonate with our audience. And then as far as the design tools we use for creating these prototypes and these mock-ups, we prefer a program called Sketch. We're also familiar with Adobe XD and Figma, which do very similar things and are great programs. We use InVision mostly to put together prototypes where it takes your mockups and makes them feel real. There's also another one called Proto.io. And then for user testing, we use Google Sheets and Google Surveys to organize that information. But honestly, just hitting the pavement, going around and showing people at their desk or over a Google Meet is a great way to do it. Now we get to the part where you actually start making changes on your website. And in this phase, there's a lot to consider. It's certainly the most complicated step, but it can also be a lot of fun. This isn't even the full list up here. We're actually going to distribute a flyer here that goes over our full checklist for website creation. It looks something like this. We've got about 56 different things that we're looking at, just making sure that you get all the details taken care of as far as plugins that need to be installed and pages that need to be created and features that need to be added. It's a lot, but once you've done the 3 steps leading up to this part gets a lot easier because you feel very confident in the direction that you're moving.
And feel free to grab one of those. Those are on the corner of this front table right here on your way out, just as a reference.
Great. Awesome. A quick note, something in our experience building websites with our portfolio companies is finding a good domain is hard. There's not a lot of things left out there, but these are kind of our high-level tips for getting a great domain. Find a .com if at all possible. There are a few other top-level domains, .io and .co, that are gaining some traction, but .com is still, by and large, the biggest and most familiar thing for most people.
And sometimes, just to make a quick note here, if you can't find the .com available specifically just for the name of your company, I love what Elios did, where it's now myelios.com, right? And so you can have some spins on the .com just to make sure you get the right one that could be available.
Awesome. As far as actually building the website, there's quite a few different tools out there for domains and hosting. Excuse me, I'm sorry. We really prefer using Amazon AWS. They've just released a new tool specifically for WordPress, which is what most of our websites are built on. It's called Amazon Light Sail, and it makes it really fantastic. It's really inexpensive. It works very well. It automatically scales up to meet the traffic demands of your website. Like I said, we use WordPress for building, but we're also familiar with Squarespace and Webflow, and also want to give out a shout out to Shopify for e-commerce shops. We prefer the theme Jupyter X for WordPress with Elementor as a page builder, and then these are some of the plugins that we highly recommend for we use this on all of our websites that we build here at RevRoad.
Very cool. So just to wrap up, again, when you're going to build your website or refresh it, define your strategy, make sure your messaging is very clear, iterate and test your design, and then build with the best tools available. And we are so excited and honored to have Allison Faulkner here today to talk to us, and she'll be up in just a minute. It's okay. Scott, tell us a little bit about how what we've talked about with the website design and the creation process intersects with what Allison's going to talk to us about today with branding.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about these 4 steps in our process that we follow for creating or refreshing websites, but it's important to note, and if you can move to the next slide here, that your website is really just one piece in a much larger ecosystem, right? These days, your audience tends to take a non-linear journey through your brand experience. Every touch point that your customers interact with is another page in your brand story, and it's up to you to make sure that that story is consistent and delightful across all channels.
Exactly. So with that, that's the web creation process as presented by RevRoad. Hopefully it's helpful for you and your company. We'd love to answer any questions you might have. So that means go ahead and ask questions if you have them, right? And I'll repeat them. Back in the corner. Yeah, wait for the mic to come. I think the mic will be coming to you. And they'll hold it for you to keep everything sanitary.
What are the biggest challenges in creating a brand that you found? Because there are a lot of stages that can go. Is it content? Is it identifying your audience? Is it the internal solutions? What do you find to be, in creating a brand, to be the biggest obstacle, the biggest hurdle?
You know, I'm seeing Allison smile here. I wonder if she's gonna want to probably take that question more than us, because she's gonna be talking about brands. But yeah, in building a brand, I mean, honestly, actually, Scott, I'll let you. Did you hear the question, Scott?
Yeah, I
What does
did
it take to
hear
build a
it.
brand? Yeah,
My
go ahead.
my simplest answer to that is consistency. You're right. There's a lot of different factors that go into your brand and the way that you present your messages to your audience. But the consistency over time really is what makes the largest impact from what we've seen in terms of how you present. Use the same colors and the same fonts and the same images, and make sure that every touch point in your brand, your social channels and your website, the events you throw, the print materials, that everything is working to support the central messaging of your brand.
I would second that, and also just making sure that you're highlighting what makes you unique and why should people care. And if that message is, again, consistent over and over and over again, you're on your way to building a great brand. Awesome, good question. Any others? This is your time, you guys. Come on. Oh, great, Carter over here.
Hey, Scott. Curious about website analytics, behavioral analytics, if that's part of the strategy. I don't know if this context of this conversation, but a lot of people use Google Analytics. Maybe that's what you use, but just curious how big a part of that factors into what you do.
Good question. Did you hear that, Scott? You want to take this one?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, exactly like you said. We use Google Analytics. We also use Facebook Insights and a few other things. And one of the things that we're really trying to push with our analytics is using it to create a feedback loop for our efforts on the website and on our other channels, right? So we're trying to see what pages are performing well, what keywords are working, so that we can continuously improve our efforts and not just see how much traffic we're getting, right?
A lot of why we did a website refresh is because of what the analytics were telling us and the pages that were more visited versus others, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, great question. Over here. Back in the back again. Okay, cool.
One other question for you. Have you used, or are you familiar with anyone using artificial intelligence as a part of determining a brand?
As a part of determining a brand?
Right, either creating one, updating one, improving or measuring and monitoring one, but how is AI being used that you're aware of in the branding space?
Ooh, that's a great question. Scott, I may parlay this one over to you as well, because Scott spent a lot of time in his in past history in an actual branding marketing agency where they worked on brands consistently day in and day out. Scott, do you remember seeing any sort of artificial intelligence used or new tools coming out to incorporate that into a brand building exercise?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's certainly just an absolute flood of trends and new technologies that are coming out to support your digital marketing efforts and your branding efforts. So it's not something that we have explored too much. We're focusing on the tried and true methods that we know work, but we're super excited to dive in and learn about that stuff as well.
Yeah. Certainly it's out there and it exists, but we haven't worked with it a lot here at RevRoad yet. Great question. There was one somewhere. Was that? Did you have a question? Do I remember seeing that? Awesome.
I was just wondering if you could speak to kind of what were the analytics or what were the things that led you to making changes in the RevRoad website? What were things that you saw were problematic or the things you were specifically addressing?
That's a great question. One of the things that was helping us move towards a refresh of the website was we really wanted to hone in on conversion, right? And we weren't seeing our conversions where we wanted them. Specifically, people would go to a team page and they would go to some of the services page, but we wanted to kind of hone those in onto more of a streamlined experience on the homepage so that we could get them to apply. Because our call to action is apply now to become a portfolio company, which a lot of you are. And so that was the goal, was to really make that more clear, make that more understood, and what that really meant on the homepage. And that's some of the things that went into that decision. Go ahead. Right here, and then I think I saw one in the back.
I'm curious.
Oh, okay. And then
How do you determine what a good conversion rate is?
Well, isn't that the question of the day, right? I mean, it really depends on your industry and your product and service. I think over time, I mean, it starts with testing, right? You got to see first where it starts. There should be a goal or a benchmark of a cost per acquisition that you want to set, and you reach that or you work towards that. But over time, the data and the analytics will show you if you're way off course or if you're getting closer and closer to that target. And it may or may not be accurate. That you want to do some industry research and see what other companies are using for their benchmarks. Yeah, great question. Over here with Steve, I think. Probably the last one because we want to get to the main event. Allison, yes.
So I was just curious, did it work when you did your redesign? Did you achieve your goal of getting more people into the funnel? Did you have to try multiple variations before you hit your goals? Are you still working on hitting your goals?
Yeah, we're still working on that. But yes, has it increased traffic and has it increased time on site? Yes. And clicks? Yes. So far so good, but we're still working on optimizing that to the best level of, just to the best level possible. Great. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate it. Sydney, I'll turn it over to you. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.